Freaking out, man. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What do all men with power want? More power.
And now, broadcasting live on GMN from an undisclosed location in the Arizona desert. Italian by birth, American by choice. Songwriter, poet, freedom activist, Lucas Zanna with Love, Guns, and Freedom.
All systems go.
Don't tread on.
Hi everybody, this is Luca Zanna and you're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom on K-Talks 1340 AM and on Guerrilla Media Network. Don't forget also to go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. I always say, every Sunday, I'm always so excited because I always bring you guests that I really want to meet myself. I took this opportunity to do this radio show, mostly, honestly, almost for selfish reasons, because I really want to know more. I want to learn more. And more important, I would like to meet all the people that I've been studying or I've been trying to get inspiration and I got inspired by. I already told you in the past, when I came to America as a fresh immigrant, 1998, at the end of the 1998, and early in 1999, I just wanted to decide what I wanted to do in my life, in my new American life. And one thing I wanted to do, I really wanted to say thank you to this country that, especially during World War II, I had really something to be thankful about. You know, my family, as you know, is from Anzio, and especially the part of my family from my mother's side, you know, they were pretty much not in a good shape. Let's put it this way. They've been living, hiding in the mountains around Rome, between Rome and Anzio. And if it wasn't for the sacrifice and the blood that many American GIs shed on the beaches of Anzio, and they were able to rescue this generation of Italian people that they were under anyway the oppression of the Germans and before, of course, Mussolini, I wouldn't probably be here. So when I grew up with my grandfather, learning about the story, there wasn't even the history yet. It was still fresh in his mind, fresh on his body. And I wanted always, since I was a young man, say, I want to become an American one day. And when finally I had a chance to come here for good, 1998 and early 1999, I said, you know what, maybe I really would like to be a soldier. And I would like to give back all the sacrifice that a generation before mine, gave to us, to my family, and to what used to be, and as I used to be my country. Unfortunately, maybe fortunately, I was still naive and I didn't know many things about this country, but I wanted to learn. So I was able to, by act of God, I really believe that, before I was going to sign my signature on this contract on this, dotted line of the Army recruiting officer. I remember still the place was in Cahuenga, Hollywood, when I used to be in California a long time ago. I used to study and used to find through the internet a website and more important information about a case. And this case was about a soldier. A soldier, his name was Michael New. Well, today I have the honor to pretty much have his father with me. They will tell you exactly the story of this courageous, that for me was probably one of the most important people that gave me the understanding what means the New World Order, what is the danger of global government, and more important, what means that we must understand what exactly are these dangers hidden that sometimes in plain view we don't see. So I decided after I learned what could have happened to me if I was going to join the army. I didn't want to become a United Nations puppet. I didn't want to become a United Nations soldier. I wanted to become an American soldier. So thanks to Michael New example and learning what happened to him, I decided I wanted to be here, not under the control of some globalist commander, but I wanted to be an American and try to do everything I could to expose this New World Order and to fight it back in every way we can out of this country, our nation, sovereign American nation, this republic, or whatever it's left. Now, today I have the honor to have with me, probably I say always every week, oh my God, this is really for me. If I could stop to do this show today, I'd be happy man. I have the man who raised and created in this planet, with the help, of course, of his wife and God, Michael knew. Daniel knew. Are you there, Daniel?
I'm here. Thank you very much, Luca.
I hope I was clear enough and maybe not too much dramatic. Sometimes I get kind of dramatic, but I really mean it.
You are Italiano. Of course you get dramatic.
Anyway, I used to be. Technically, I gave up my passport the day I took my oath of my citizenship. So right now, if they throw me out of this country, I'm nothing. I'm pretty much only an American. But, unfortunately, you know very well, Daniel, right now, pretty much the president or just some bureaucrat in Homeland Security, pretty much they can declare you an enemy combatant and strip you of your citizenship. They don't even need to do that anymore. Even as an American, they just can kidnap you and put you in some dark hole, maybe in Guantanamo, and indefinitely detain you. You know that. So I always wonder what's going to happen to me. But meanwhile, no matter what type of paperwork, the American flag, it is in my heart. It is not even anymore on a piece of paper. You know what I mean? So Daniel,
yes.
Thank you very much for being with me today, first of all.
Yes, and thank you. You're sharing your story has been very inspiring to us because, and we hear stories like this from time to time, but yours is one of the best in terms of how it shaped your life. And there's so many guys, and I know a number of men who were in the military who did not re-enlist because of Michael's case, or in some cases, one or two cases, resigned a commission.
Yes.
Who were officers, and they resigned from the Army. And, of course, there's two schools of thought on that. Some people say that you need to the good guys need to stay in and try to make it a better Army. It's a little bit like the streetwalkers for Jesus, I'm not so sure.
Let's start from the beginning because, there is a lot of people, unfortunately, that by maybe age, they are younger, or maybe just because...
You are right. You are right. This happened in 1995.
Exactly.
So if you were born the same year as this happened, you can now be 20 years old. You could be in the Army for 2 years or just now joining the Army.
Exactly.
And you would have a good excuse for not ever hearing this story. But Michael was in the Army. He was a regular Army. He was a medic. Serving in at that time in 3rd Infantry Division in Germany. Mm-hmm. And he had previously served in North Africa and in I don't mean North Africa, I'm sorry, in Saudi Arabia during follow-up to the war in Kuwait and with Iran, the first war. And had seen a little bit of action there, but it was mostly peacetime. But here he was in Germany, and he was told to get ready for another deployment into Macedonia. And he was looking forward to it. He liked to see the new deployments and to see new places, and he really enjoyed the Army. He every morning he said he would be shaving and he would say, "I love this life. I could do 20 years of this, standing on my head." And then he said every night when he went to bed, he would say, "I hate this job. I'm going to go AWOL in the morning." But every morning he felt better, but it was kind of a love-hate thing. He'd been promoted early. He was getting ready to be promoted to sergeant, and he had been invited to join a program to become an officer.
Wow.
Go to officers' candidate school. He was a good soldier, and he found out about the Macedonian deployment. He was happy until they told him, "You're going to wear a blue hat. You're going to take off your U.S. flag off your right shoulder, put on a United Nations patch, a round blue patch."
Wow.
Now, that doesn't mean anything to a civilian, but you put the American flag on the left shoulder, the U.S. flag. So to us, it doesn't mean anything, but to anyone who knows how to read the uniform, the right shoulder is the dominant patch. That's the dominant force who's in control. The left shoulder is a unit patch under the authority of the dominant patch. So when you move that American flag to the left shoulder and put a UN patch, or even an International Expeditionary Force patch, you're telling the world that the United States is a unit in this military force, that we're not the boss. We're a unit under the authority of whatever it is. And so he simply said to his sergeant first, and then to his lieutenant, and then to the captain, finally to the colonel, he said, "I have a problem with this order. I don't see how you can force me to serve a foreign power against my will. If you want volunteers, that's one thing. How do you think you can force me? I took an oath to support and defend the United States of America.
Yes.
I did not take an oath to the United Nations. I have a contract with the USA. I don't have a contract with the United Nations. So how can you force me to serve? I'm not a mercenary. You know, I mean, I think it's bad enough that you take volunteers, but if you force me to do it, then I'm not a free man. And they said, well, of course you're not free. You're in the Army. And he said, yes, but I am under the control of the Constitution, and so are you, because you took the same oath I did.
Yes.
So you mentioned the oath before, Luca, and it's a different type of oath, but it's a different oath, but it's the same type. You know, I believe we're the only country in the world where we take an oath of allegiance to a document instead of to the crown or to the king or to the president or to the Führer or to whomever. I don't know. What is it in Italy? Do you know?
Well, technically, when you are in the army, you have an oath to the Republic, but if you read very well the Republic, it is not really a Republic anymore. Never was supposed to be. I mean, there is not really a Bill of Rights, let's spell it out. And they look at you not like a person with individual rights, inalienable rights, but like a nation based on work. You're a worker. You're a slave. And I tell you something, because I did, when I was younger, the military school preparation to become an officer. And when I realized exactly that I could not serve such system, I decided to pretty much, I'm not going to do this anymore. So I was one of the most, very hard to get in academy, the Nunziatella military school, that out of 3,000 people, only 30 people can get in the year. And I was one of the 30.
Wow.
And when I get there, I realized, you know what? Sorry, guys. I cannot do this anymore. But no, this is different. It is different. But it never really was different, only because it's been like that since the beginning, since the time of the empire. Then became kings, and then the popes, and pretty much always a serf. That's the idea. And the military, it's used like the police to work for the authority to keep the serfs down. That's the idea.
Right. So your oath there would be to the Republic and not to a constitution.
Yeah, there is a constitution, but the idea is it's a little different anyway here. We don't have a constitution with unalienable rights like the Bill of Rights. Let's put it in this way. So it's kind of little different. And let's put it in this way. America is the only one, and I did a research before I came here, the only place in the world where we have a Bill of Rights with the Declaration of Independence and this type of constitutional system that used to be a republic, like in the real sense of a republic, not a democracy. So we are unique here, or we were before but we will talk. Yes. Go ahead, please.
You're absolutely right. Anyway, to make this story short for your listeners, the Army told Specialist Michael New that he had to wear the uniform that they gave him, and that was it. You obey orders. And he said, well, I'm going to seek counsel. And he did, and we found a lawyer. He calls me up and he says, I think I'm going to be court-martialed. And I said, my goodness, what have you done?
Oh, my gosh.
I didn't do anything. I said, well, why would they court-martial you if you haven't done something? And he said, well, it's because of something I'm going to not do. Oh, okay, what is that? He said, they want me to wear a blue hat. And immediately, boy, the light came on. I knew what he was saying. Yeah. And we talked about this. I said, when you join the Army, I said, what will you do if they ask you to serve under the United Nations? He said, what are the chances? It's not likely. I said, well, it's not likely, but it's not likely to win the lottery, but some people win, and, maybe you're going to be the lucky guy, and they're going to ask you to serve under the UN. And he said, I'm just not going to do it. So he was prepared in his mind. He understood the issue, and he was no expert on the UN. I mean, he was 22 years old, but he knew that he served his country. And as far as we know, he was immediately arrested. He was court-martialed for refusing to obey an order and to wear a UN uniform.
Wow.
The general on that deployment came from Finland, not an American officer.
Oh, my gosh.
So not an officer approved by Congress or by the President or by the Constitution. And there were four groups, one American, one Finnish, one Danish, and one Swedish. So they had the Scandinavian group with one group of Americans. And I'm sure that they were an interesting group, and I'm sure it would have been an interesting military experience. The problem was it was unconstitutional, and it was illegal. And that's the thing that we can't seem to get over. So many soldiers tell me, but I served in the Army, and I spent some time under NATO or working with the guys in Scandinavia, and I loved it. I say, that's not the criteria that we use for whether or not it's right or not. I know a guy that told me once that he loved when his neighbor was on vacation because the best times he had were with his neighbor's wife.
Oh my God!
So you can't do that. Just because you like it doesn't make it right. So you have to obey the Constitution. So does the government. And so we could prove, without any doubt, we had the evidence to prove that even the uniform was unauthorized. Although they could change those regulations, but they have Army regulations for the uniform. Everything on the uniform. The deployment was unauthorized by Congress and was therefore illegal. President Clinton lied to Congress, and I know that's going to shock your listeners, but he lied to Congress and told them he had the authority under Presidential Decision Directive number 25.
Mm-hmm.
But he said, and they said, well, let's see it. And he said, no, it's classified. Take my word for it.
Wow.
Not even Congress could be allowed to see PDD 25.
Who wrote that? So, who wrote that executive order or PDD? Who wrote that?
PDD 25 was written by Bill Clinton's White House.
Wow, from itself.
And it's the document that authorizes himself to ignore Congress, to ignore the legislation, the law, to ignore the Constitution, and do what he wants to do. But you can't read it. Wow, it's a blank check.
Yeah.
So we could prove all of this, except we didn't have the classified document.
Mm-hmm.
But we could prove all of the other points. So we got to the court-martial in January of '96. And the judge, he said the lights were on over at the JAG office every night until midnight or later, trying to figure out what to do with all this evidence. And in the end, they did the only thing they could do. The court-martial judge says to the panel, which is like a jury, he said, "Gentlemen, I have looked at the order, and I have decided that it was lawful. Therefore, you will see no evidence in this case about the lawfulness of the order. You will only determine whether or not the soldier obeyed the order or not."
Wow.
Well, his own mother would have to vote guilty. Of course he disobeyed the order.
Yeah.
The entire question was why. And so as a result, he was kicked out of the Army. Now, they wanted to give him a bad conduct. I'm sorry, they wanted to give him a dishonorable discharge and put him in prison.
Mm-hmm.
But as it turned out, the jury came back. They said, okay, guilty. And then they came back and said, bad conduct discharge. It's like a slap on the wrist. Yeah, you're kicked out, but you lose your benefits. You can't be buried in a military cemetery. You can't get veterans benefits. That was a big loss. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
You get two chances to die for your country: once on a battlefield, and then once in a veterans hospital.
Yeah.
So
I guess so. Yeah, exactly.
He lost. So he lost the GI benefit for the education, but it was a small price to pay in our opinion, and in his opinion. That he said, look, if it's wrong, it's wrong. And as far as we know, Luca, this is the first American soldier ever convicted for wanting to serve his own country.
I have a few questions. By the way, listeners, if you're tuning in right now, you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom. This is the first hour of the show. We're talking exactly with Michael New. He's the father of a former private, Michael New. Daniel New. I'm sorry. We're talking with Daniel New. My brain is so excited I can't even think straight. And he's the father of Michael New. And if you're listening to so far right now, this is something that I will post. By the way, there is a YouTube that I found that pretty much summed the story very well. It's like a short documentary about all this case. And I will post that on today's show on lovegunsfreedom.com. Now, I have a few questions for Daniel New. First of all, how's it doing, Mike? I mean, he got out of the Army, and of course, he didn't have to go to jail, right? So that's I want to just refresh this for the listeners.
Oh, no. It's a bad conduct discharge, no jail.
No jail,
he was sent home, and, he married a girl from Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Some people might call that a war bride, but maybe it's a peacekeeping bride. I don't know.
Okay.
But in any event, he married a German girl and came home. He got a job. They have two children. No, he has not found it difficult even to find a job. It's been he had more job offers than he knew what to do with.
Wow, that's beautiful. At least that. Now, my question first is this: if I was a fellow soldier in Michael's company or battalion,
mm-hmm.
whatever, I would have joined him on the spot. Say, I'm with you, brother, immediately. Now, among all thousands of soldiers that pretty much they were going to be deployed, is it possible nobody else joined him? I mean, everybody was doing all this by himself. This is my first thing that really broke my heart, you know. Is that true?
In that battalion,
Yeah.
400 and some odd soldiers, not one, even though when they talked in the barracks, most of them said, like 2/3 of them, he said, agreed with him. He said, well, yeah, you're right, Mike, but hey, think about it. We get an extra $1,000 a month for 6 months for this deployment. He said, that's $6,000. We can buy a used car, a good used car for $6,000.
You sell
and
your...
Michael said, well, okay, yes, you're right. You get more money. Well, what do you call it, Dad? He says, when somebody offers you money to do something you believe is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I can think of several words, and none of them were very nice, so I didn't tell him that. But but they agreed with him. Now, there were a few soldiers who spoke up when the opportunity prevailed later. And there was one Green Beret sergeant at what is the fort in North Carolina at Fort Bragg?
Yes.
In fact, there was a group of them who were very supportive of Michael, and one of them was so vociferous, and he went on the air and was on the radio and gave speeches, not in uniform, of course. And some men came to him one day, and the command sergeant major came to him and said, Sergeant Razor, we need to talk to you. 2 men here from the White House. 2 men in gray suits. They would be the President of the United States is willing to allow you to resign from the Army with a general discharge.
Wow.
But I'm an enlisted man. I do not have the privilege of resigning. Only officers can resign. And I have to serve out my term. And they said, well, we're going to make an exception for you. Forget the law. We just do what we want to do. and Sergeant Razor said, well, you're telling me the President of the United States is demanding my resignation just because I exercise my free speech on my own time. So you can tell the President that I said that he can go to hell.
Wow. That was, of course, still a globalist President Clinton at the time?
Yeah, that was still Clinton.
Yes, of course.
And so then they put more pressure, and finally he said, okay, finally he quit. He said, I will quit if you give me an honorable discharge. And they did, and so they kicked him out of the Army. Mm-hmm. That's one out of how many million? And there wasn't one or two others who... But I've heard many veterans now who have told me that they shortened their career, or once their term was up, they decided not to re-enlist because they could see the handwriting on the wall. But it is a sad thing that not his commanding officers and his fellow enlisted men didn't immediately say, no, we won't go. That would be the great message to a president Clinton, who refused to serve in the draft when he was a young man, to send him a message to tell him, hell no, we won't go.
Let me 1 second interact, because I listen to everything. I would like to really give you not to you because you know, but this is the message for the listeners, especially new listeners that sometimes they're just still thinking that we're living in Kansas, like in the movie, you know, oh, this is America. Nothing's going to happen here. It's already happened. Wake up. Seriously. Let me tell you, this didn't happen with Obama, okay? Obama was just the final little cherry on top of this terrible poisonous cake that we're all gonna eat. And this is gonna be pretty much like the last dagger in the heart of this republic. There is a plan that is not anymore some sort of hypothetical plan. It's already in full action. It's called the creation of global government, aka New World Order. The last thing that pretty much is between this final plan, it's America as a republic with our Bill of Rights, with things that these globalists cannot tolerate, because in the global New World Order, you're going to be no less than a cow, no less than a slave. Probably cows have more rights than you. So let me explain this exactly how it happened. What happened to Private New, there were just a little symptoms of what's happening right then. They don't want soldiers that they have the guts, the courage to stand for this republic. They don't want to have soldiers that will understand the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and they're ready to die for. They want just soldiers like zombies, like drones, maybe to bribe them out, or more important, just to follow the orders. And this is so scary, my friends, because if you look at right now, the last few years, Mr. Obama, and I refuse to call him a president, you know that, he did purge more than 200 officers just in 5 years. And that was in 2013. Why? Look who are the people that they're purging. They're purging people like Private New, people who believe in this country, in this constitution, in the sovereignty of this country. Because at the end of the day, we're going to be left with a bunch of zombies ready to shoot us in the back if they have to, because they were just following orders. And they will embrace this new global government. Now, this is so serious, because every time now I listen to still good people that they think that they're good. Guess what? If you still don't understand, every time we deploy a soldier in some foreign country, they are not defending the American interest. They are not defending America and its constitution. They are not defending our rights. Wake up. The last constitutional war that we had, if you believe in the Constitution, declared by Congress, was World War II. And please, Daniel New, correct me if I'm wrong, after that, since Korea was just another police force under the United Nations, and pretty much was just not even a conflict, a war, was just a conflict. I'm sorry if you're a soldier, I'm sorry if you served overseas in Iraq and all these different type of situations. Guess what? You are not serving America. There was a general, General Butler, the most decorated U.S. Marine probably of history. He said, we're supposed to have soldiers deployed to war, to go to war only for two reasons: to defend our borders and to defend our Bill of Rights, our rights in this country. So no, I'm sorry, my friends. You still believe that going there and maybe giving a limb, you come back, in a flag. This is not for America anymore. You're serving the United Nations. This is the fact. So I'm sorry to give you bad news, but this is the reality. And that's why I refuse to join the army, because I'm never going to serve a foreign government, more important, a global government that is exactly the opposite of what all America was founded upon. Please, Daniel, interact.
Amen, brother. You're absolutely right. It's a sad thing, because the press tells us today that our soldiers are defending freedom.
Yeah.
They're not defending freedom. They're promoting a new world order. And
Yes.
if they die, they're dying for the new world order. They're not dying for America. They're dying for a global government. And that is a sad thing, that we cannot convince Americans and look, I'm not questioning the patriotism or the sacrifice of the families and of the individuals who serve as individuals. I'm not being critical of the soldiers. A soldier is a soldier. He's a tool. He's a weapon. He's like a gun, and he's not negative or positive until he chooses to become so. You can use a gun correctly. You can use a gun incorrectly. Our soldiers are being used incorrectly.
Yes, and I agree with you. Listen, guys, when you go there, and I have a lot of friends. They found themselves in this situation. They signed the contract. And at that point, when they realize that there is a scam, they do it because, first of all, they want to come back home alive. And then, of course, they have a brotherhood. They want to defend their own brothers and sisters. And that's the point. And there is nothing to take away from your courage and your spirit of sacrifice. But the reality is this one, guys. I have a lot of veterans friends that they come back, and it's almost hard for them to admit that what they were doing, they're being used. And they know that wasn't about freedom. They know that wasn't about defending our rights, because their rights, they were stolen meanwhile. Meanwhile, they were deployed overseas. They are stealing and raping our rights. They are raping our coffins. They are pretty much destroying this country. So they understand. And I understand also that for many of you guys, it's hard to admit it. Because after you give a limb, or after you get your post-traumatic stress, you pretty much, you gave your life or your health, and maybe your family get destroyed, your divorces happen because of all this stress. It's hard to admit that you're being, pretty much taken advantage of. And I understand, but there is no way we're going to fix this problem until we admit the reality of the problem. And the problem, I have a little short video. It's about 3 minutes. This is from Leon Panetta. When he still used to be a Secretary of Defense, pretty much laughing at Congress, saying that he takes his authority from the United Nations. So when now we send soldiers to be deployed, to give their blood and risk their lives, this is not for America. This is because the United Nations, the global government, they completely the omega. We are the alpha, they are the omega. The exactly opposite principles of this republic. This globalist socialist cancer. We are dying for them. We are paying for them. Our billions of our tax dollars get extorted every year to feed these devils. And that's the best thing I can say over the phone. Otherwise, I would be fined by the FCC. So let me play this little thing of real life, because this is not just some sort of conspiracy, okay? And by the way, if you're a socialist, if you think that we're supposed to be part of a global plantation and United Nations is your God, that's fine. Enjoy this show and laugh at it if you want. But if you're an American in good faith, that you still believe that our soldiers, they're defending our country, wake up. Because you are part of the problem now if you don't wake up. Let me play this. I'm sorry, I'm getting mad.
United States. Do you think that you can act without Congress and initiate a no-fly zone in Syria without congressional approval?
Again, our goal would be to seek international permission, and we would come to the Congress and inform you and determine how best to approach this, whether or not we would want to get permission from the Congress. I think those are issues we would have to discuss as we decide what to do here.
Well, I'm almost breathless about that, because what I heard you say is we're going to seek international approval, and then we'll come and tell the Congress what we might do, and we might seek congressional approval.
No, well,
I want to just say to you, that's a big dish. Wouldn't you agree? You've served in the Congress.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree that would be pretty breathtaking to the average American? So would you like to clarify that?
But I've also served with Republican presidents and Democratic presidents who has always reserved the right to defend this country if necessary.
But before we do this, you would seek permission of the international authorities.
If we're working with an international coalition and we're working with NATO, we would want to be able to get appropriate permissions in order to be able to do that. That's something that all of these countries would want to have some kind of legal basis on which to act.
What legal basis are you looking for? What entity?
Well, obviously, if NATO made the decision to go in, that would be one. If we developed an international coalition beyond NATO, then obviously some kind of UN security resolution would be the basis for that.
Coalition of. So you're saying NATO would give you a legal basis, and an ad hoc coalition of nations would provide a legal basis?
If we were able to put together a coalition and were able to move together, then obviously we would seek whatever legal basis we would need in order to make that justified. I mean, we can't just pull them all together in a combat operation without getting the legal basis on which to act.
Who are you asking for the legal basis from?
If it's obviously, if the UN passed a security resolution as it did in Libya, we would do that. If NATO came together as we did in Bosnia, we would rely on that. So we have options here if we want to build the kind of international approach to dealing with the situation.
Well, I'm for all for having an international support, but I'm really baffled by the idea that somehow an international assembly provides a legal basis for the United States military to be deployed in combat. I don't believe it's close to being correct. They can provide no legal authority. The only legal authority that's required to deploy the United States military is the Congress and the President and the law and the Constitution.
Let me just for the record be clear again, Senator, so there's no misunderstanding. When it comes to the national defense of this country, the President of the United States has the authority under the Constitution to act to defend this country, and we will. If it comes to an operation where we're trying to build a
That's enough before my blood pressure starts to explode, This was Secretary Panetta, and the other gentleman was Senator Jeff Sessions. And the first time I heard that, I was speechless, but not really, because I already knew this. And I would like to ask now to every American who believes in sovereignty, who believes in freedom, who believes in the sacrifice our founding fathers did. If you don't understand what's going on right now, if you still believe that we are serving to defend our country, you heard just what this devil in suit just said. Secretary Panetta is just another little puppet. He knows very well what's going on. So all the generals behind him laughing and smiling and smirking, they know because they've been bribed out. Because the best generals we had, all they left office, or they pretty much get cut off, or maybe they died. Now, we need to wake up. Seriously, because if an immigrant like myself, former immigrant that pretty much still doesn't understand some principles of grammar, and my accent is kind of sometimes hard to understand, if I can get this information in my very simple brain, why not you guys, that you were born here, and maybe your fathers and mothers that were born here, and maybe your founding fathers were part of your generations, of your family heritage. Why don't you want to get this simple, basic concept? We've been conquered by the New World Order. And it's here. It's our job now to kick him out. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be negative. But we cannot kick him out. We cannot fix this problem until we realize we have a real problem. What can you articulate about this incredible 4 minutes, almost treasonous speech by former Secretary of Defense Panetta, Daniel New?
You know, it's not only a Democratic, but we have the same attitude, and the same policy was followed by George Bush in going to war in Iraq.
Oh, I agree with you. And his father, Mr. New World Order, that a piece of trash. Go ahead, please.
So it's a bipartisan problem. Republicans and Democrats both believe that they can go to war under the authority of the Secretary General, starting, of course, with Harry Truman, but bringing us right up until today. Every military action except possibly one in Grenada, but everything under Reagan, but every other action has been without congressional approval or extra. And when I think it was Ron Paul who asked the Republican chairman of the House of Representatives, the Speaker of the House, we're going to go to war in Iraq. You have to have an article of war from this body. I propose a bill to a declaration of war, and Dennis Hastert ruled him down. He said, "This is a modern day, and we don't have to do it like that anymore." This is a congressman.
Yeah, the congressman took an oath.
They all take an oath to the same Constitution. It's amazing.
Yes, this is treason. This is treason, and I tell you guys, it's our duty to bring it back. This is happening because we don't get involved. This is happening because we don't want to have the courage to face the truth. This is no more the America that you dream or that you thought you grew up. Even then was changing. It changed a long time ago. It was a clear change, but for sure, now, if you cannot see it, people used to laugh probably during the 80s or the 70s when the John Birch Society was trying to bring this information during the 60s. I understand. There was no internet and, you're still living in some sort of a fantasy land and everything was great after all. You live in America. Guess what? The monster was already pretty much infiltrating in our walls. They were taking position. Yeah. The Council of Foreign Relations, all these things that people used to laugh. They even big, radio shows, they even said, "Oh, you're a conspiracy theory, it doesn't exist." They were pretty much plotting in the darkness, infiltrating every position of office. Now, when you see that Obama is there, it didn't happen overnight. It was a long planned, staged event to destroy this republic from within. They needed a Trojan horse to get inside our walls. And they were set long time ago. Daniel New, tell us a little bit what's going on now with Mikey. In which part of the world is he? How is he doing? Is his family? Tell us a little bit about him, if you can.
Oh, he lives in near Houston, Texas.
Okay.
And he works as an internet technician, specialist, troubleshooter, and has a job. He also has worked for a couple of different companies through the years, of course, working as a computer, running a computer-generated lathe that making specialized parts. So he has worked both as a technician and now as a computer guy. But he's got a job, and he's been to college. His wife has been to college, and they have 2 children, but he's very private. He does not want to come on the radio show, I'm sorry to say. So
no, that's fine. I understand. And, I'm glad you're doing it because, you know what? Doesn't matter. At this point, it's no more about Michael. It is about the example.
No, it's not about Michael.
It is about the message, about what is said, the seed that you think about it. Tell him this one. Make him really smile tonight when you talk to him. There is a guy who was even born here. That's myself, okay? I still have a pretty much thick accent. And, it's not exactly what you think, the typical example of, you think just a guy that came here. Guess what? What he did, Michael, with his example, with his act of courage and loyalty to this republic, he changed my life. He put me in a journey that pretty much transformed me what I am today. That's for incredible. Me the most important thing. Sometimes we just do things. We don't understand the big plan because we are just humans. We think, our little action is limited to our little life. But we are like a domino effects. Michael, what it just did to me, in 1999, I could have been joined the dot lines and signed for a 4 years contract or so with the Army because, I was ready too old for the Marines. I was trying to apply for the Marine Corps. And then, think about it. If I was going to learn all this the hard way, they say, by the way, you got to put, your blue helmet and go to somewhere. And I would have told them, go to hell. I'm an American. I came all the way to America to become an American, not to be your slave. Guess what? I would probably end up...
That's just it. And, this is one of the things that Mike said to his officers. He said, listen, if they have the authority to make me wear that blue helmet in Macedonia or Africa, Iraq, then they have the authority to make me wear that blue helmet in Texas or Arizona or New York.
Exactly.
It's not a question of geography.
Exactly.
It's a question of authority.
Exactly. I would like to say something, especially for people that are new to this topic. Please, this is more important than you can imagine. This is exactly the roots of our problems. Today, what we are facing today, the dangers of global government, the destruction of our individual rights, that was one of the first symptoms. Now, there is a little book that for me I bought today, by the way, another copy just because I already have 2 copies. It's, you can find it on Amazon and maybe you can give us also your website if you sell it directly by Daniel New. This book is called Michael New, Mercenary or American Soldier. There is you can buy a Kindle hardcover for 0.1 cents. You can buy a brand new one. Please get this story, read it, share it with your family. Turn that stupid TV off for a few hours, sit down with your family, because we must pay tribute, in my opinion, to this American hero. And that's the way to do it. Reading about his sacrifice. Michael New must not be forgotten. And today I was Googling his name, and I started to realize how all this is so scary and freaky, because, who controls pretty much the technology now can rewrite history. And Google is part of the problem, in my opinion, because they're all controlled by, anyway, CIA. And this is not a conspiracy, you figure it out. But regardless, if you put now Michael New on Google, that's supposed to be, for me, first one, you start to have things about, now because it's coming out. But we have sports, Michael News goes to court, because now Google is picking up my little different searches before. But before was everything but Michael New, the soldier. Was about many other Michael New out there. Now, there is not enough information anymore about this man, and we got to bring him back, because this is going to be exactly the way we can stop all this evil doing. Because these wars, they're not just bad for the economy, for our tax dollar, for the moral values that we are killing innocent people. This is also bad for the destruction of this republic. As you heard before, we are pretty much now under global government. So, please get this copy of this book. By the way, Daniel New, where can people can they buy the book directly from you? I know you have a website. Can you give your website out, please?
Yes, MikeNew.com, MikeNew.com. It's very easy. They can buy the book there. They can get the video, which is pretty good.
All
they
right.
can also watch the video free on YouTube. Go
Yes.
look at it, and it's called Good Conduct.
Yes.
The story of Michael New. And if they haven't seen that, they need to. By the way, if you have a soldier or Marine or sailor or airman anybody who's in active duty in the military and they ask for a copy of the book or the video, we will send it to them free. We're not trying to get rich here. We're trying to get the word out.
Excellent, excellent. And I will post a permanent link I have on my website, lovegunsfreedom.com. There is a section called activism. Okay. Beside today's show, I will post a link with MikeNew.com. I will post a story there, a page dedicated to this story, this American story of Michael New with the link of the website, so you can see also the case, the legal documents, everything in the news, and of course you can donate. And more important, maybe you can buy a book to give to your fellow soldiers, or even the young man or young woman that is going to be ready to, in a good faith, ready to sign the dotted lines to join, like I was doing, 1999. I was ready, and I you know what? Don't get me wrong. This is not about if you don't join, you don't serve anymore America. You're going to serve now America more than ever if you stay here, if you become a citizen soldier. First of all, I realized the first thing my very simple brain, they want us away. They ship you more patriotic you are, and fourth, they're going to send you around the world. The idiots, they keep them all here. That's pretty much my little analysis. Do you agree with me?
Oh, absolutely.
Because,
absolutely. Are you familiar with the organization called Oath Keepers?
Yes, of course, and I'm also a member. And
okay, well,
go ahead, please.
Stuart Rhodes told me that it was Michael New who inspired him to start that organization.
Wow, exciting. This is
so what an impact. And just because some people say maybe Michael has a stubborn streak, he's a little bit hard-headed. And my wife says that he got it from her because I still have mine. But in any case, just one soldier who has the guts, who has the courage to stand up and say no, even though every officer all the way up the line talked to him and said, you have to obey orders. You have to obey orders. He wasn't bothered by it. He just said, no, I'm not going to wear it. You can't make me wear it. He said, you can put me in jail. You cannot make me wear a blue hat.
Yes, no, he doesn't have to obey orders. And that's the problem. They try to reprogram the brains of our soldiers. They have to obey orders. I mean, think about it, Americans. If tomorrow, they're going to tell you, by the way, you must kill this fellow American because the law says so. I mean, after all, the Supreme Court case said that slavery was okay. Would have you followed that order? Or maybe Rosa Parker, you need to follow the order, policeman, because she's supposed to sit in the back of the truck. Would you follow the order? No, I would have not followed the order. Okay? I don't follow these unconstitutional laws. And even if they say it's constitutional, I don't care, because it's against the godly laws, and more important, it's against the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence. Now,
at the end of World War II, Luca,
yes,
we hung some German officers whose only defense was, I was obeying orders.
Exactly. I have a dream, as a young American, as a new American. Maybe it's not going to happen in my life. I hope so, but regardless, we will fight till the end. The dream that we're going to take back this republic, and that we're going to write our book of history, or history book, and we're going to put people like Michael New, yourself, and other patriots out there, a special chapter, and all these globalist leeches. Let me tell you, really, I sometimes I enjoy saying names, and now I can't say so much because it made me feel better at least. These traders, like Panetta, like the Bushes, like the Clintons, like, let me give you more names. I want to put them all down. I can't now. All these bastards that they're pretty much being paid off, or they sold their soul to the devil to destroy this republic and create this new world order. I wish to have a trial that day and be there on the first row with a pack of popcorn and laughing at them, and hopefully after this trial we're going to have justice, because these people, they know what they're doing. They're not stupid. They're all part of a plan, and the plan is the destruction of this republic and the enslavement of the American people to make us all a bunch of global slaves like the rest of the world already they are.
Yes, I think some politicians are just stupid, but the power brokers, those who are really in power, this is no accident, and they're not stupid. They know what they're doing.
No, they're not. And this is all part of the plan. That's why they will use soldiers, United Nations soldiers, to keep the peace on U.S. soil in case there is any type of national emergency. And they will follow the orders. And probably most of our soldiers, they're going to be shipped out far away. So maybe we're going to have foreign troops. But at that point, it doesn't matter. Even if we have our soldiers, after they've been pretty much selected in the last 30 years, according to their IQ, most of the people that they keep here, they're pretty much below room temperature, their IQ, or just to follow orders because they're too afraid or they love so much their paycheck. We're going to have a bunch of freaking drones ready to shoot us in the back. And that's what they want. What do you think about this situation? That could be a martial law. Now we have all these executive orders, and pretty much they could use United Nations troops on U.S. soil to pretty much bring tyranny, complete tyranny.
Look at with the help of Dr. Herb Titus, who is a constitutional attorney and scholar. We have created and crafted a piece of legislation, a bill. We call it the Citizen Soldier Protection Act, and we don't have a sponsor, but we have it on our website at MikeNew.com.
Okay.
And if anybody is interested in seeing that, and basically it doesn't go near far enough. I mean, we would like to see a bill to get us out of the UN, but you have to be realistic. What this little bill will do will make it illegal to force an American soldier to serve a foreign power against his will.
Yes.
Pretty simple.
Yes.
And that would put a roadblock in the front of the New World Order. If America can say no, then others will start following the example, especially if there's a law to support them. So we would love to find a sponsor. If any of your listeners know a congressman or senator who would like to introduce this bill, we need some help. It's going to have to come from the citizens because Washington, D.C. is not giving us any interest at all.
Yes, and the first way we can do this, we must understand, educate ourselves, and learn from each other. Because only when we understand what type of situation we live in right now, then we're going to say, okay, we got to call everybody we can, whatever congressman we can still find that pretty much is not corrupted and he wants to try to learn and do it together the right way. Of course, guys, my honest opinion, I think that we pass right now the point of the federal, DC, it's almost lost. It's a cancer in final stage. But regardless, we got to try. And at the same time, more important, we got to educate our communities, our counties, our county sheriff, our county deputies sheriff, and our fellow peace officers. And more important, our local government. We must understand that the United Nations is coming to knock at your door. It's called Agenda 21, and it's already here. Okay? Forget about being deployed under the United Nations. They're coming to us in our local legislation.
In your city and your county now.
Exactly. So we got to fight back starting from our own backyards. Seriously. Listen, Daniel, I really thank you so much again. And I would like to, first of all, before even we finish, I want to say something in front of you, in front of God, in front of my fellow Americans. I wasn't a soldier. I didn't have a chance I decided to become an American soldier. But when I became an American, I had to take an oath. I was happy to take, pretty much similar to the American soldiers. And the oath is very simple. Pledging allegiance to this Constitution, to this United States of America. I don't call it the, I call it this. And more important, to the principle of freedom enunciated in the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence. And I swear this oath. Again, I renew it today in front of you in honor of your son and all the other soldiers who will refuse to follow unconstitutional orders and, more important, to obey to a global government and to serve under global government, aka United Nations. And my oath today is to defend this republic against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and more important also, as important, not more important, to stand against these bastards of the United Nations and the New World Order. So very simple, till my last breath. And I'm very serious. I'm so passionate about that. Normally my show, I'm pretty calm. But when I touch United Nations and global government, I became a beast. Seriously. And I want to thank you for that. Because you really inspire me too. Because you are the father bringing this message, reminding to all of us what your son did. We got...
and Luke,
go ahead.
Not only is Michael is an inspiration to you, but you are an inspiration to us because... look, I'm getting old. I'm not going to be around a lot longer, but it's so encouraging to see a new generation of resistance to the New World Order and a new generation. It's growing up out there now. There's more people today who are awake than ever before.
Listen, thank you.
And you're a part of making that happen.
Thank you very much, my friend. And my best regards to Michael, and I will send you a package of my CDs. Meanwhile, I would like to play in honor of you and Michael and all the soldiers out there that they will stand against the New World Order. This song I wrote exactly in 2004. Get us out of the United Nations. Long live to the Republic, that to the New World Order. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom.
Get us out of the United Nations. Get us out, we are a free nation. Get us out of the United Nations. Get us out, get us out. Yeah. weaponize a Trojan horse of our time. UN's freedom from the war means they're gonna rule the world. Remember Congo, Rwanda, Kosovo. UN hates God. Yeah! Get us out of the United Nations. Get us out, we are a free nation. Get us out of the United Nations. Get us out, get us out. Get us out of the United Nations. Get us out, we are a free nation. Get us out of the United Nations. Get us out, get us out. Get us out of the United Nations. Get us out, we are a free nation. Get us out of the United Nations.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman,
I'm not afraid.
and a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth,
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Gianluca Zanna
I'm not afraid.
and his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Gianluca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.